I'm Nydya, and I will be discussing the negative impacts of urban sprawl. I'd first like to start off with the definition of urban sprawl. In the Science and Health Promotion Journal, urban sprawl is defined to be an environment characterized by population widely dispersed in low-density residential development, rigid separation of homes, shops, and workplaces, a lack of distinct thriving activity centers such as strong downtowns or suburban town centers, and a network of roads marked by large block size and poor access from one place to another. In my speech, I will address why urban sprawl is unsustainable, and I will also address why physical design of our cities impacts our health in a negative way. First, urban sprawl is unsustainable because sparse developments and poor access have guaranteed a car dependency. According to the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, automobile traffic is a major contributor to global climate change, accounting for about 26% of U.S. greenhouse gas emissions. The Sierra Club reports that sprawl consumes more than 2 million acres of parks, farms, and open space each year. Increased fragmentation due to urban development threatens biodiversity, especially in animal populations, as their habitats are chopped up into smaller and smaller pieces. Next, I will address why the physical design of our cities impacts our health in a negative way. When focusing on the negative impacts on mental health and social health, I would like to start off with an excerpt of a letter in Suburban Nation written by a suburban housewife. I'm a mother of four children who are not able to leave the yard because of our city's design. Ever since we have moved here, I have felt like a caged animal only let out by a ride in the car. There is no sense of community here on my street because we all have to drive around in our own little worlds. I want the kids to walk to school. I want to walk to the store for a pound of butter. I want to take the kids on a neighborhood stroll or bike. My husband wants to walk to work because it's so close. But none of these things are possible. And if you saw my neighborhood, you would think that I had it all according to the great American dream. This letter reflects the complete loss of self-rule and autonomy sprawl residents face when deprived of access. When there's poor access, the 80 million Americans who are too young, too poor, and too old to drive become stranded. Without an inclusive infrastructure, suburbia is not an empowering environment for those without a car. Because sparse development have guaranteed car dependency, it's no secret that the amount of time spent in traffic causes stress and frustration. We all experience it. According to the study published in the Atmospheric Environment Journal, the average Los Angeles driver spends about 1.5 hours of his or her day on the road. That amounts to about 500 hours of traffic-related stress a year. When people have to get behind the wheel to perform every small task in life, driving becomes another chore to be finished as quickly as possible. When addressing the negative impacts on physical health, a study conducted by research professor Dr. Ewing concluded that those living in sprawling counties are likely to walk less in their leisure time, weigh more, and have greater risk of hypertension than those living in more compact places. Because sprawl is associated with high levels of driving, and driving contributes to pollution, many sprawl residents are at risk of developing cardiopulmonary diseases. A new study by research at the University of Southern California and the California Air Resources Board found that up to half of Los Angeles residents' total exposure to harmful air pollutants occur while people are traveling in their vehicles. According to the public health reports of 2002, automobiles claim 40,000 lives and account for 3.4 million non-fatal injuries in the U.S. each year. The same report reveals that automobiles cause about 6,000 fatalities and 110,000 injuries among pedestrians nationwide each year. While many factors contribute to such high numbers of pedestrian fatalities, high-speed, pedestrian-hostile roads that are prevalent in sprawl cities play an important part. So, in conclusion, Porty Plan development threatens our environment, our health, and our quality of life in numerous ways. Thank you.
All right, I apologize. I apparently say it wrong. Is it Nydya? Nydya. All right. The claim is not very clear to me. At the end, I think you've got a little bit clearer statement of what the argument is. The opening section, though, does have two setups of what the secondary points are going to be, but they seem to be so different from each other that I'm not sure how they fit together. It's kind of a general attack on sprawl, and you need a more specific impact statement. Like I said, at the end, you've got something that maybe unifies them a little bit better, but that should be clear at the beginning. You do a good job defining the nature of sprawl. Your signposting on the two main points when you're talking in the body of the speech is relatively clear. The evidence that you present, you're good at citing the sources for the evidence, and there's a variety of information. I'm not sure that it's always convincing. The example from the suburban mom, for instance, seems to be a pretty, it's a good illustration of a concept, but to generalize from, I'm sure that it's a little bit weak. The notion that global warming, you know, the U.S.'s contribution, 26% of it is transportation-based, but the relationship of that 26% to urban sprawl is not quantified. When you were talking about contact, for instance, with atmospheric pollution and those sorts of things, and it usually comes in cars, well, even in urban areas where there is high density development, there are automobiles, so people are going to be exposed. I don't know that the sprawl thing is the thing that accounts for the exposure in those situations. So you've got some good information in the speech, but I think you're making inferences that are not necessarily sustainable by the evidence that you have, and you need to have more specific evidence in order to make those inferences. Like I said, I think that the second point also involves some value-based arguments, and there are a couple of places where you go off on tangents where I'm not even sure that there's any connection to sprawl. The 40,000 car accidents and all the people, or the 40,000 fatalities in car accidents and all the people who are injured in those situations, the connection to sprawl is only thin because they're cars. And for instance, any car accident that occurs in a big city should automatically be excluded because it can't be sprawl-based. It's, you know, occurring in the city. I think that you want to stick more to the environmental issues there, and maybe even the lifestyle issues. Although I think, like I said, that that's kind of on the brink of a value claim for you. All right.